Greg Palast is a legendary investigative reporter. For example, in the 2000 election, he was the one who did all the work after the fact in Florida and found out that indeed Al Gore did win the election, no matter how you counted the ballots. If you did hanging chads, dimpled chads, however the fuck you counted it, Al Gore indeed did win Florida, but of course, George Bush ended up winning the election. And, you know, perhaps one of the reasons he won the election is that his fucking brother was the governor at the time in that state. And then the Supreme Court was like, no, recount, fuck, recount. Anyway, so let's, this thing's over, right? Let's wrap it up. So, he's uncovered some amazing stuff. He's been at it for a long time. And he recently went on Jimmy Dore's show to talk about the 2016 election. He did some deep investigative reporting for Rolling Stone, and he has some incredible findings.
So tell me about this movie and the best democracy money can buy. But Trump stole the election by throwing people off the voting rolls through cross-check. Now, that's what I've been hearing. What have you been hearing?
Yeah, I'm the guy. So basically the film The Best Democracy Money Can Buy is about my investigations. It's live investigation, me on the trail for Rolling Stone, uncovering the original version of the film was here's how Trump's going to steal it. No one bought that. Everyone bought their party dress for Hillary's inaugural, but then he stole it. And so now this is the update. And the subtitle is called The Case of the Stolen Election. I was going to call it, This Time Pay Attention. It's like, so it was like, yes, I was the guy. In fact, I do go back in the film through a cartoon version. The guy who did Who Framed Roger Rabbit drew the cartoon, a Saturday morning cartoon about how Jeb Bush and Katherine Harris removed tens of thousands of black men from the voter rolls of Florida saying they were felons. Threw them off. That's how little Georgie W. became president. Now, how did Trump do it? He used, like you said, he used a system that I uncovered called cross-check. What's that? Trump says that millions of people voted many times, and people make fun of that. But I'm the only journalist that said, okay, if 3 million people voted twice, give me the list. It turns out they actually have a list of 3.6 million voters, 7.2 million names. They wouldn't give me the list. So, see the hat? I'm an investigative reporter. I got the list, and the lists are names like Maria Hernandez votes in Georgia, and then Maria Hernandez votes in Virginia. And they say, well, obviously, Maria Hernandez is voting twice, as opposed to saying that's kind of a common name, except it's not common for Republicans. So, in fact, in that case, this is a real case. Maria Inez Hernandez is supposed to be the same voter as Maria Isabel Hernandez, and 2 million of the names have mismatched middle names. Juniors and seniors are matched, etc. But they use this. This is no joke. They use this to remove about 1.1 million people from the voter rolls. That was Michigan, and the other stuff I go through.
How many voters were removed from the rolls in Michigan? In Michigan,
it was about 60,000. Now, Trump supposedly won Michigan by 10,700 votes, in not counting 60,000 removed. And by the way, I also go through, 'cause in the update of the film, the Best Democracy Money Can Buy, it's called The Case of the Missing Election. I go to Michigan and find out that 75,355 ballots were disqualified, never counted, because the machines broke down. 87 machines stopped counting the paper ballots they're scanned in Detroit, which is not exactly Trumpville, is it?
No.
So we know whose votes those were.
So, Greg, why wouldn't the most powerful political machine the history of the earth has ever known let that happen? Why wouldn't they challenge that? Why do you have this information? They must have this information, and yet they didn't do anything about it?
I got to tell you, I'm marching through the snow, finding the voters whose machines were busted. They said I couldn't put my, the ballot machine. I saw the physical ballots that weren't counted that are marked Hillary, because they go through scanners.
Right.
So Jill Stein of the Green Party raised money to have those ballots counted by an amazing machine called the human eyeball.
Okay.
And they started counting them. Hillary was going to win Michigan. Trump went to court. You'll see in my film, Trump goes to court with his lawyers and says, Jill Stein can't challenge the vote. You can count all the ballots you want. She ain't going to win. So the judge said, yeah, okay, she can't challenge the vote. So What about Secretary Hillary Clinton? What does she want to do? Her lawyers were in the courtroom in Lansing, Michigan, and they said, we're just here to observe. How about that? Which is kind of her campaign theme song, wasn't it?
Okay, so there's a lot to say about this. They go on in that interview, and Greg Palast, he goes on to mock the Russia stuff. So he says quite clearly and repeatedly, no, Russia didn't steal the election. Russia didn't hack into voting machines. This has all been concocted as an excuse for the Democrats. And they go on to, the argument is Vladimir Putin spent $150,000 in Facebook ads, and that overrides the $1 billion Hillary spent. And Palast makes clear he's not a Hillary guy. He didn't like Hillary. And he also says, yes, if you had an election with Bernie, it likely would have been such a blowout in the direction of Bernie that it doesn't matter how much purging of the voter rolls that was done, or what do they call it? Cross-checking, I think they called it. Bernie would have won because he would have won by so much that it doesn't matter that they nip and tuck 10,000 here and 20,000 there or whatever the case is based on, hey, the names are the same, so we're going to purge you from the voter rolls. So it's interesting because you get the sense that this guy, Greg Palast, he's not doing this. Like there are many people who could do this where I would go, I'm just questioning your motives up front because it seems like you're in the Hillary camp and you're so deeply in the Hillary camp that you're working backwards from your conclusion that my glorious Hillary must have won and there must be some outside factors that are influencing this thing. But Greg Palast makes clear that that's not the position he's coming from. He's just saying, look, man, I'm an investigative reporter. I went around. I got that list. I checked that list. I did all my due diligence in my work here. And yes, it actually turns out that the way that they did their voter purging here, yes, it impacted the outcome of the election, and it is the case that you could say they stole it. Wow. Now, Jimmy Dore keeps going on to press that point of I don't get it. Why? How could Hillary, everybody knows she would have tried every trick up her sleeve to try to get in there if this was the case, but you're telling me that this is the case and they didn't really do a full court press on it. I don't really get that. And I'm in Jimmy's camp. I don't really understand that either. But let's just say at the same time, of course you don't put it beyond the Republicans to do shit like that. Voter ID laws is another one, which is one that's probably gets the most press, where they pass these laws, and he goes on to give an example. There was one state where they said if you have a gun permit or a hunting license, you can vote. But if you have a college ID, you can't vote. So you see who they're targeting it at. This is the Republicans saying, let's get as many Republicans as possible and let's exclude as many Democrats as possible. That's how they craft these things. And then when you press them on it, they hide behind what? They go, what do you mean? No. This is all about just ID and proving who you are to prevent voter fraud. But as they use the argument of we're just trying to prevent voter fraud, what they do is they do voter purging. They purge the rolls of people who are likely to vote against them. So they often target poor districts, minority districts, college students like I just described. And then at the end, you can do the math on it. Oh, Trump won by 10,000 votes in this state. But look, they purged 60,000 people. Or in some cases, they didn't count the ballots in this place. So, listen, man, if you don't think there's a lot of fuckery going on behind the scenes, then I got a bridge to sell you. Because this is the United States of America, and it's basically the oligarchy of America. And yes, big money affects the elections. Yes, there's trickery going on. I mean, just look at gerrymandering. Gerrymandering is an open disgrace. We're going to craft the districts to try to keep the incumbents elected. The fuck is that? And you see the creepy way they draw the districts to try to make that happen. There's a lot of fuckery going on, and Greg Palast does a good job uncovering a lot of it. And I don't know, you tell me, do you think he's 100% right, half right, not right at all? But either way, he strikes me as a guy who... he kind of makes clear, look, I'm not really a Hillary person, but when you look at the way everything unfolded, yes, it's fair to say the Republicans did quite a bit of cheating in order to win the election.